What's a discovery that should have blown people's minds but somehow got a collective shrug from the world? There's something called bispecific antibodies, and it can treat cancer. Why should you care about this? Because it is not chemotherapy. That means no bone damage, no increased risk of developing other cancers, no long-term neurological problems, no hair loss, no digestive problems, absolutely none of the horrible side effects we associate with cancer treatment. And here's the truly remarkable part. It is actually more effective than chemo, and it is easier to administer. This treatment is already approved as a last resort option for some types of cancer, and it works incredibly well. Even in that difficult setting, there are numerous clinical trials happening right now. These trials are specifically designed to prove that bispecific antibodies should replace chemotherapy entirely for certain cancers. Researchers are also working on expanding it to treat even more types of cancer. How do I know all of this? Because my wife got into an early clinical trial. The treatment put her into deep remission. She experienced almost zero side effects. She is back to how she was 5 years ago. No weakness, no diminishment of any kind. She is completely herself again, and almost nobody seems to know that this breakthrough even exists. Almost all the plastic that you thought was being recycled has actually always been burned and dumped, and we are not talking about small amounts here. The global quantities are absolutely mind-boggling. Billions of tons of plastic were never actually recycled. The entire system was basically a lie designed to make consumers feel better about buying more plastic products. The Panama Papers revealed a massive conspiracy of global tax evasion. The ultra-wealthy were hiding their money in offshore accounts on a scale nobody had ever seen before, and nobody batted an eye. It gets even worse. The journalist who broke the entire story was quietly taken out, and the world just moved on like nothing happened. Scientists discovered nitrogen-fixing organelles. This is a massive deal because it confirmed long-standing theories about the evolution of single-celled life forms. The implications are enormous. It affects everything from space research to the future of farming. You have probably heard of chloroplasts and mitochondria. Those are the well-known endosymbionts inside our cells. Well, we just discovered a third one. This is a fundamental breakthrough in biology. And on top of that, scientists keep discovering enzymes that can actually break down plastic. And each time it happens, it barely makes the news. Scientists in Japan figured out how to actually regrow human teeth. Real teeth. Not implants. Not dentures, but actual biological regrowth of real teeth. This is an absolutely groundbreaking medical achievement that could change dentistry forever. And I have only seen a few tiny mentions about it anywhere. Almost nobody is talking about this. There is a researcher in Portugal who has recently managed to cure pancreatic cancer in mice. Pancreatic cancer is one of the deadliest and most difficult cancers to treat. This research could be a massive breakthrough that saves countless lives. But here's the truly sad part. He needs funding to develop a cure for humans. A brilliant scientist who could literally be changing the world should be spending his time thinking and doing research. Instead, he is forced to beg for money. That is how broken the system is. This one should be painfully obvious, but the Epstein files. Every single release is more disturbing and incriminating than the last one. Powerful people are being named. Evidence keeps piling up higher and higher. And somehow, the general public is still not angry enough about it. People should be absolutely outraged by what is in those documents, but the world just keeps scrolling. Messenger RNA. Vaccines are like this generation's moon landing. They are a staggering scientific achievement. They represent the gateway to potentially curing all kinds of diseases that we never thought we could tackle. Cancer vaccines. Personalized medicine tailored to your exact body. The possibilities are genuinely endless. And instead of celebrating this incredible technology and developing it further, a huge portion of society is abandoning vaccines entirely. Children are catching measles again. Diseases that were nearly eradicated are making a comeback. All because people got frightened of the very technology that could save millions of lives. I feel like the invention and rollout of pre-exposure prophylaxis has been completely missed by most of the population. Unless you're directly in the community that benefits from it, you have probably never even heard of it. But here is the incredible truth. We literally have a drug that, if you take it on a regular basis, means you will not contract HIV. Think about that for a second.
IV?
Used to be a guaranteed end for anyone who caught it, and now there is a pill that prevents it entirely. That is a milestone in medicine that should be celebrated every single day. But most people are just completely unaware that this drug even exists. The discovery that should have changed everything is something called social baseline theory. Through a mental health and neurobiological lens, this theory proves that the human brain does not view being alone as a neutral state. Instead, our brains are biologically hardwired to expect the presence of other people around us. Other people help us manage our mental and metabolic costs. When you're with someone you trust, your brain literally shuts down certain threat response regions. It outsources its stress regulation to your social circle. So, social connection is not just a nice thing to have. It is not just a social lubricant. It is a primary biological resource, as vital to your survival as calories or oxygen. When we are isolated, our brains have to work significantly harder to monitor the world around us for threats. This leads to a state of constant, high-load metabolic strain. What this actually means is that many mental health struggles, like anxiety and depression, are not just random internal glitches in the brain. They are predictable biological responses to a lack of social support. So why did the world give this discovery a collective shrug? Because the implications are deeply inconvenient. Acknowledging this theory would require us to admit that our modern culture of hyper-individualism is biologically nonsensical. It is much easier for society to tell a struggling individual to just practice self-care. Much easier than admitting that our current way of living, isolated in suburban boxes, staring at screens all day, is actually a public health crisis. One that is physically wearing out the human brain. Trees communicate with each other. I know it sounds absolutely unbelievable, but it is scientifically proven they communicate through underground fungal networks beneath the forest floor. They share nutrients with each other. They warn neighboring trees about incoming threats like insects or disease. They even send resources to other trees that are withering away, actively trying to keep them alive. The entire forest functions as a connected community, and almost nobody is talking about this incredible discovery. We cloned a sheep back in 1999. Let that sink in for a moment. And now, suspiciously, 27 years later, there has been absolutely zero chatter about the successful cloning of humans. Think about it. We have not seen a single headline about someone going to jail for attempting it. Not a single announcement from the United Nations passing any law that either permits or forbids human cloning in any country. Not a single whisper about clones walking among us. Just complete and total silence for 27 straight years. And honestly, that silence is the strangest and most unsettling part of the whole thing. I really thought the information that Edward Snowden risked his entire life to reveal to the public should have concerned people a whole lot more than it did. He exposed massive government surveillance programs that were spying on ordinary citizens. He gave up everything to warn us, and most people just shrugged it off and went back to posting their lives online. In just one human lifetime, IV was discovered, and it was basically a guaranteed end for anyone who contracted it. There was no treatment. There was no hope. People were absolutely terrified. And then, within just 45 years, medical treatment evolved to where people can live completely normal and full lives with the virus. Patients can reach undetectable levels, which means they cannot even pass it on to another person. We essentially conquered a disease that was once nearly 100% fatal, all within a single generation. That is one of the greatest medical achievements in human history, and it barely gets talked about anymore. In 2024, an SSH encryption backdoor, believed to have been planted by a foreign intelligence agency, had the potential to essentially wipe out 80% of the entire internet. A German programmer named Andres Freund just happened to notice an incredibly tiny slowdown on his computer. We are talking about a 0.05 second delay during login. Most people would never even notice something that small, but he did. And from that one tiny observation, he discovered that every version of those systems was compromised. Supercomputers, server farms, regular home computers. Everyone was vulnerable and nobody had any idea. When the backdoor was finally discovered and patched, the mainstream media reported it like it was just another tech story.
Oh, cool.
Good find.
Random guy?
But the media was not technologically literate enough to grasp how absolutely catastrophic this could have been. We are talking planes falling out of the sky, banks collapsing overnight, hospitals going completely dark across the entire world. It would have been like the CrowdStrike incident, but multiplied by 1,000. We were likely just weeks away from all of that happening, and almost nobody even realized how close we came to a global meltdown. Scientists proved that your gut bacteria can directly influence your mood and anxiety levels. And the world just collectively went, "Oh, cool," and kept stress-eating gas station snacks. Let that sink in for a moment. We basically confirmed that there is a second brain sitting right there in your stomach. Your gut is directly connected to how you feel emotionally every single day. And how did society respond to this groundbreaking discovery? With a probiotic yogurt commercial. And then everyone moved on. This feels wildly underhyped for something that can literally change how you feel every single day of your life. The discovery of microplastics in human blood, placentas, and basically every organ in our bodies should have been a civilization-altering wake-up call. Instead, it was a one-day headline. We are literally finding plastic particles inside newborn babies. And the collective response from the entire world has been shockingly muted. Everyone just went, "Huh, that is terrible," and kept buying products wrapped in plastic. In 50 years, we are going to look back at this the exact same way we look back at lead in gasoline and asbestos in buildings. We are going to wonder how we knew about the danger and still did absolutely nothing to stop it. There is a clear sign of life on Mars. There is something on Mars that all the leading scientists around the world are analyzing and currently cannot explain without it being caused by microorganisms. Now, it is not as spectacular as finding an alien mushroom growing on the surface. It is a piece of rock with splotches of different colors. The colors are caused by chemistry. But the pattern of those splotches is most likely caused by colonies of something similar to mold spores. Maybe there is an inorganic explanation based on the breakdown of volcanic minerals or something like that. Or maybe it is the actual footprint of a type of fungus that lived on that rock millions of years ago. Either way, we might be sitting on the single biggest discovery in all of human history, and it barely makes the front page of anything. Antimatter has been collected and experiments using it as a fuel source have been extremely promising. The only major issue so far is storage and how incredibly expensive it is to contain. If antimatter touches any other regular matter, the reaction occurs and both get converted into pure energy at 100% efficiency. That is absolutely mind-blowing when you think about it. It is the single most efficient fuel source that humanity has ever discovered. Truly world-changing developments are going to happen with this technology sometime this century. The future actually looks hopeful in this regard.